Have you ever noticed how some women don't flirt in a direct way? Instead, they check your awareness quietly, especially when you are a man over 50. Women act differently around you. They don't want to appear needy, they don't want to seem too easy. So they ask certain things instead. And here's what most men don't understand. A woman who feels drawn to an older man will almost always ask two very specific questions. It's like a message hidden in plain sight. Before I reveal them, do me a small favor. Tap that like button and comment if you have ever missed a woman's signal and only understood it later. Your engagement helps this content reach more men who need it. Men over 50 often think they are invisible to younger women or even women their own age. But the truth is completely different. My name is Olivia, and I'm the host of Psychology Secrets with Olivia. I've spent the last 10 years studying female psychology, relationship dynamics, and the subtle ways that attraction works, especially when it comes to women pursuing mature men. I've read over 200 research papers, interviewed hundreds of women about their preferences, and guided thousands of men through relationship challenges. What I've discovered is that most men are missing something fundamental about how women communicate interest, and I'm here to change that for you. I want to be real with you for a moment. If you're watching this right now, there's probably a reason. Maybe you've had a woman show interest and you completely missed it. Or maybe you're wondering if that amazing woman in your life actually wants more than friendship. If you've ever felt confused about a woman's signals, or if you've wondered whether age was a barrier rather than an asset, then this video is exactly what you need. You're not alone in this, and you're definitely not broken for not understanding. It's just that feminine communication works in a completely different language than masculine communication. And once you learn this language, everything changes. Stay with me because the two questions I'm about to share will transform how you see every interaction with a woman from this point forward. Let me start by laying down something really important. Mature men are often more attractive than ever when they actually understand female behavior. The real problem isn't women, it's misunderstanding. It's moving through life thinking she's just being nice when she was actually inviting you in. Women rarely show interest openly. Instead, they test your emotional calm, your presence, and your ability to notice small details about her and about the world around you. Here's where the psychology gets fascinating. Feminine psychology works in subtle ways, and when a woman begins to view you as someone she can trust, emotionally, physically, and intimately, her energy shifts from casual talk to intentional curiosity. She begins asking questions that are specifically designed to reveal three important things about you. First, she's testing your strength as a man, whether you are steadier and secure, someone who has his life together and knows how to handle challenges. Second, she's gauging your emotional and practical availability, whether there's actually room in your life and your heart for her. And third, she's assessing your awareness, meaning whether you can recognize genuine interest and respond to it with presence rather than confusion. This is exactly when those two key questions appear. But to truly understand why they matter so much, you need to see the psychological truth behind them. Many men over 50 expect clear, simple signs because they were raised in a time when people spoke more directly. But women today, even mature women, express interest in a completely different way. They don't say, "I'm attracted to you. I want to get closer. I'm thinking of you romantically." Instead, they explore. Women ask carefully chosen questions to see whether you are a man they can move toward without feeling rejected or vulnerable. Let me tell you something that most men don't want to admit. Here is the quiet feminine fear, especially with older men. If she shows her interest too clearly, if she makes the first move or states her feelings openly, she worries he will think she's needy or desperate. She worries he'll reject her, and that rejection hits differently when you're a woman. So she hides her attraction inside curiosity. She places it in questions that look completely harmless to a man who isn't paying attention. And if you do not notice them, if you don't respond with presence and engagement, she usually won't repeat the offer. This is crucial to understand. Women rarely present the same emotional invitation twice. Once she puts herself out there, even subtly, and you don't meet her halfway, she retreats. Think of it this way. Feminine psychology is layered, like a series of transparent veils. Women use questions the way men use actions. When a man is drawn to someone, he offers help, direction, support, or protection. When a woman is drawn to someone, she asks a question that hints at closeness and invites vulnerability. There are endless questions a woman might ask in daily life, but only 2 appear consistently when she is gently exploring deeper intimacy with a mature man. And here's what's wild. These questions repeat across cultures, ages, and backgrounds because they come straight from the core of feminine psychology, from how women's brains are wired to explore connection. Before I tell you what those 2 questions are, I want you to understand something fundamental. When a woman asks these questions, she's not asking because she's trying to pry into your life or because she's just making conversation to fill an awkward silence. She asks because she wants to sense your emotional warmth and your authenticity. She wants to feel whether you're calm, whether you're steady, whether you're open to her energy. She wants to know if you stand in your masculine power or if you hide behind politeness and people-pleasing. She wants to sense whether you're the kind of man who is actually present or if you're just going through the motions of life on autopilot. Here's something that most male-focused relationship content won't tell you. These questions are not about information. They are about connection. They create a small pull between you and her, like the beginning of magnetic attraction. Think of them as emotional bridges she places carefully to see whether you step onto them with genuine presence and authenticity. When you do, when you meet her openness with your own presence, everything shifts in her mind and her body. The energy changes. The possibilities expand. She starts to imagine what being close to you would actually feel like. Now, most men respond to these questions at face value. They hear the words, they answer the question in a factual way, and then they move on. But a wiser, more grounded man understands the deeper meaning behind her words. Because when she asks them, she isn't collecting data or doing research. She is checking alignment. She is checking your awareness. She is checking whether you are the kind of man who notices things beneath the surface, who listens not just with his ears, but with his intuition. When a woman is drawn to you, she doesn't need you to show off money, strength, or impressive stories. She needs to feel that you are conscious, present, and calm. She needs to feel your emotional authenticity. These 2 questions matter deeply because they are not random curiosity. They are invitations. They are her way of testing the waters before she goes deeper. And I want to be clear about something from my years of studying female behavior and talking with women about their dating experiences. A woman who is genuinely interested in you will ask these questions. A woman who sees you as just a friend or an acquaintance won't. So the presence of these questions is already a signal in itself. Let me introduce you to some actual research that supports this. In a study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, researchers found that when women are interested in deeper connection with someone, they shift their questioning patterns. Instead of asking surface-level questions about facts and details, they begin asking questions that invite vulnerability and emotional sharing. These questions serve as what researchers call emotional probe questions, because they're designed to test emotional responsiveness and openness. This isn't manipulation, it's genuine exploration. It's her way of feeling you out before she invests more emotional energy. The reason this matters so much for men over 50 is really important. By the time a man reaches his 50s or 60s, many women assume something unconscious about him. They believe he has already lived most of his emotional stories, that he's probably set in his ways, that he might see a younger woman as just a pleasant distraction rather than someone worth genuine emotional investment. So they hesitate to step into his life, to be vulnerable, to show interest, unless they feel certain they won't become just a side character in his story. These 2 questions are soft, simple, almost invisible, but they're her way of checking whether there is actually space for her and whether the man she wants is living with purpose or just moving through life on autopilot, waiting for time to pass. Here's something that hit home for me when I was researching this topic. I interviewed a woman named Sandra who had been interested in a man named Robert. She was 52, he was 61, and there was this undeniable chemistry between them. But she was terrified to make the first move because she didn't want to seem desperate. So she started asking him things like, "You must be really busy these days," and "What's on your mind lately?" She was literally testing whether he had emotional space for her, whether he was even capable of thinking about someone new. When he would respond in surface ways without any real presence, she would retreat. And eventually, she gave up. 2 years later, Robert realized what had happened and deeply regretted missing those signals. He told me afterward that he had thought she was just being friendly, that he didn't realize she was literally opening doors for him to walk through. The first question she asks a man she desires is meant to uncover one thing: your availability, not your calendar, but your heart. She wants to sense whether your life has emotional space for her. It's not a practical question, it's a psychological one. It's her way of saying, are you open or closed? Can you connect? Or are you hiding in your routines? Can I come closer without feeling pushed back? Can I actually become part of your life? Women don't like wasting emotional effort, so they test for openness before they reveal deeper interest. This first question is her version of a man leaning a little closer to see whether the woman leans in or steps away. The specific question is this: do you spend a lot of time alone? It sounds simple. It sounds almost random, but it's anything but. It's one of the most loaded, meaningful questions a woman can ask a man she's interested in. She might ask it in different forms depending on context. She might say, do you usually go out alone? Or do you keep to yourself? Or, if you don't mind me asking, are you seeing anyone or just doing your own thing lately? But the core message is always the same. She's asking, is there room? Is he emotionally available? Does he have space in his life for someone new? This question is never about loneliness. Let me be very clear about this. It's not like she's asking, are you lonely and sad? It's about access. A woman asks this question only when she has already pictured herself in your space somewhere. She's imagined having coffee with you, sitting beside you, maybe even waking up next to you. So when she asks if you spend a lot of time alone, what she's really asking is, would she be a welcome disruption in your solitude, or would she be an intrusion? Would you welcome her presence into your routine, or are you too set in your ways? When a man answers this question, most guys just give a simple answer. Yeah, I spend some time alone, or no, I'm pretty social. But most men miss the deeper layer of what she's really listening for. She's not listening to the words. She's listening to his tone, his energy, his openness. She's asking herself, does he sound like someone who has room in his life for genuine connection? Or does he sound isolated, bitter, or closed off? Does he sound like someone who's set in his patterns, or someone who's flexible and open to new experiences? Let me give you a real example. I was coaching a man named Derek, who was 58 and recently divorced. He was at a coffee shop, and a woman he was interested in asked him, do you spend a lot of time alone? His immediate response was, yeah, pretty much all the time. I work, I come home, I watch TV, that's about it. Now, on the surface, he was being honest. But what she heard was a man who is isolated, stuck in routine, not really open to new experiences or new people. She heard someone who might not know how to let someone in. She gradually pulled away after that conversation. But what if Derek had answered differently? What if he had said something like, I do enjoy my own company and my solitude. It's important to me to have that space to think and recharge, but I'm also realizing that I don't want to spend my life alone. I'm actually open to sharing that space with someone who really gets me. Notice the difference? He's answering the same question, but he's conveying openness, flexibility, and emotional availability. He's saying, I have my own life together, but I'm open to letting someone special in. That's the message women are listening for. Here's another angle. Some men, especially those who have been hurt in past relationships, unconsciously close off their emotional availability as a form of protection. They tell themselves, I'm better off alone, or I don't need anyone. And that message bleeds through in their voice and their energy. When a woman asks if they spend a lot of time alone, she picks up on that closed-off quality, and it signals danger to her. It signals that they might not be safe with their emotions, that they might reject her if she got close. The psychology here is fascinating. Research in attachment theory shows that men and women have different attachment styles, but all humans have a core need for secure attachment with others. When a woman asks this question, she's unconsciously assessing your attachment security. Is he someone who is comfortable with intimacy, or does he avoid it? Does he have healthy relationships, or is he isolated? Is his solitude chosen and peaceful, or is it lonely and protective? Her nervous system is literally reading yours when you answer this question. So here's what you need to understand. When a woman asks, do you spend a lot of time alone? Here's how to respond in a way that acknowledges her real question. You want to convey that you have a full, meaningful life of your own, that you're not desperate or needy, but that you're also emotionally open and capable of sharing your life with someone. You might say something like, I do enjoy having my own space to reflect and recharge. I have interests and hobbies that keep me engaged, but I'm also at a point where I'm looking for someone to share my life with, someone who understands what I'm about. Or you could say, I used to think I preferred being alone, but I'm realizing that connection matters to me now. I want someone who gets the real me, someone I can be present with, so I'm not really looking to be alone anymore. Notice how both of these answers communicate openness, emotional awareness, and availability. You're not desperate, but you're not closed off either. If you're watching this and you're wondering whether there's a woman in your life who might be asking you this question, pay attention to the energy of the conversation. Is she leaning in? Is she maintaining eye contact? Is there a softness in her voice? These are the real indicators that this isn't just casual conversation. And when you answer, don't just answer the question. Meet her energy. Show her that you're present, that you're listening not just to her words, but to what's really being asked. If you want to really deepen your understanding of how women communicate and test men, I want to ask you to do something. Comment down below and let me know. Have you ever been asked this question before and not realized it was a test? Or have you asked a woman this question and realized later that she was testing your availability? These stories are gold, and I love reading your comments. They help me understand what you're experiencing, and they help other viewers feel less alone in these situations. Now let's talk about the second question, which is equally important, maybe even more important than the first. When she asks this one, she's deciding if she should go deeper. The second question she asks when she wants intimacy is about your direction, not your goals or your career achievements, but your inner direction. She wants to know if your life has purpose, movement, and masculine steadiness. She wants to sense whether you're building something, growing into something, or just drifting through your remaining years. Here's something that research in female psychology has shown over and over again. Women do not open to men who drift. They don't open to men who are floating, men who are just passing time, men who are waiting for life to happen. They open to men who are anchored, men who know who they are and where they stand, men who have direction. The second question literally becomes her gateway into understanding your core as a man. What are you looking for these days? That's the question. Sometimes it comes as, what's going on in your life right now? Or where do you see yourself heading? Or what are you working towards? But the underlying question is always the same. Are you living with intention, or are you just existing? A woman might feel drawn to a man's body, might appreciate his appearance or his charm or his sense of humor, but she only moves toward him emotionally, only opens her heart and her vulnerability when she desires his presence and senses his aliveness. And this question becomes her doorway into sensing the man you truly are underneath everything else. Let me tell you about a woman named Michelle. She was 55, smart, accomplished, beautiful in that way that comes from living a full life. She had been interested in a man named Tom for months. They had great chemistry, genuinely enjoyed each other's company. But when she finally worked up the courage to ask him, "So what are you looking for in this phase of your life?" His answer was basically, "I don't know, I'm just taking things as they come, enjoying retirement, spending time with grandkids, whatever happens." Now, Michelle didn't reject him because he wasn't ambitious in a career sense. She retreated because he sounded like he was just waiting around. He didn't sound like he was building anything, creating anything, moving toward anything. He sounded asleep. But what if Tom had answered differently? What if he had said something like, "I'm at this place where I'm really interested in living more consciously. I'm learning to paint. I've been reading more. I'm trying to be more present with people I care about. I want this next chapter to be about depth and meaning, not just going through the motions." Michelle probably would have felt a completely different energy. She would have felt his aliveness, his intention, his emotional engagement with life. That's what she was really looking for. Here's the deep psychology behind this. When women say they want a man with direction, they're not necessarily talking about a 5-year plan or a business goal. They're talking about something more fundamental. They're talking about a man who is awake, who is conscious, who is intentional about his life. Because a man who is intentional about his life is also more likely to be intentional in a relationship. A man who is building something, even if it's just building a more meaningful life with better relationships, is someone worth investing in. A man who is drifting is risky, because if he's drifting through life, what happens if you get involved with him? Will he drift away from you too? Let me explain the neuroscience behind this for a moment. In the female brain, specifically in the regions that process trust and safety, there's a strong correlation with sensing whether a man has what's called agency. Agency is the ability to perceive yourself as having control, purpose, and direction in your life. Research shows that women's attraction neurons literally light up differently when they sense a man has strong agency versus weak agency. A man with agency is someone who shapes his life rather than being shaped by it. And that registers as safer, sexier, and more reliable to a woman's neurobiology. So when a woman asks, "What are you looking for these days?" she's not asking for a long explanation. You don't need to reveal your whole life story or have some grand master plan. You only need to demonstrate direction. You can say something like, "I'm in this phase where I'm really focused on living with intention. I'm building a simpler, stronger chapter with the right people. I'm looking for connection that feels natural, not forced. Real experiences with people who really get me." Or you could say, "I'm learning to prioritize what actually matters. Quality time, meaningful conversations, experiences that feel alive. I'm looking for someone who understands that kind of living." These kinds of responses do three powerful things for her. First, they show you are moving, not stuck. You're not just waiting for life to happen. You have agency and intention. Second, they show emotional clarity, that you know what you want and you've thought about it. Third, and this is crucial, they open a quiet space where she can imagine herself fitting into your direction. They create a place for her in your life narrative. And for a woman, that's incredibly powerful. It gives her a signal she hopes for, proof that you are not emotionally asleep, that you're someone worth taking a risk on. Let me give you another real example. I coached a man named Richard, who was 62 and had been single for 8 years. He was a lovely man, kind and intelligent, but he was a bit aimless. When women asked him what he was looking for, he would say things like, "I'm really just keeping an open mind," or "I'm not sure," whatever comes naturally. He was shocked to discover that women were losing interest in him as soon as they asked this question. We worked on helping him articulate his direction and his values. He realized that what he really wanted was to volunteer more, to travel to places he'd always dreamed of, to deepen his spiritual practice, and to find a partner who would be an actual companion on that journey. When he started answering the question with real intention, "I'm actually in this phase where I'm really trying to contribute to something bigger. I'm volunteering with kids in developing countries, and I'm looking for someone who shares that kind of passion for meaningful living." Suddenly, the energy changed. Women started responding differently, not because he had become a different person, but because he finally communicated that he was alive, awake, and intentional. Here's what you need to know about these two questions. They almost always come in this order. First, she tests your openness with, "Do you spend a lot of time alone?" This is her checking whether there's room in your heart and your life. It's the first door. Then, if you pass that test, if you show openness and availability, later she'll ask about your direction. This is the second door. She's checking whether you're the kind of man who is worth that risk, who is worth her vulnerability and her investment. Now, here's something really important that I want to make crystal clear. If a woman asks you these questions, it's a compliment. It really is. She wouldn't bother asking if she wasn't interested. Women don't ask these kinds of questions to men they don't care about. They don't invest emotional energy in learning about guys they see as just friends. So if you notice a woman asking you these questions, pay attention. She's literally handing you a map to her interest. She's giving you the opportunity to meet her halfway. Let me paint a picture for you from real life. You're talking with a woman, maybe in a coffee shop, a bookstore, at a friend's dinner party, or even in an online group or community. The conversation feels smooth. There's ease, almost a soft tension. She laughs a little more than needed. She touches her hair. She looks at you with genuine warmth and interest. The conversation is flowing naturally from one topic to another, and you feel genuinely connected to her. Then suddenly, kind of out of nowhere, she asks, "So, do you spend a lot of time alone?" Or maybe she phrases it differently, but the core question is there. This is her first emotional step towards you. This is her opening the door slightly, putting herself out there in her own subtle way. If you respond with presence, with genuine engagement, she feels encouraged. If you answer with confusion or shut it down, if you give some surface-level answer and then change the subject, the energy drops instantly. And not in a subtle way. You can feel it. The air gets a little colder. She pulls back. Her energy becomes more cautious. Let's say you pass the first test. You show openness, availability, genuine interest in the conversation. The days pass, maybe a week, maybe just hours, depending on how often you're in contact. And then she asks the second question. "What are you looking for these days?" Or, "Where do you see your life heading right now?" This is her second step. This is her deciding if she should go deeper, if she should actually take the emotional risk of being vulnerable with you. If you answer with clarity, with intentionality, with genuine engagement, she feels possibility. She sees a future where this could actually work. If you answer with uncertainty or vagueness, if you sound like you're just coasting, she retreats. And this is the key thing that most men don't understand. Men think these moments are random. They think, oh, she's just curious about me, or she's just making conversation. But they're not random at all. They are emotional checkpoints. They are the woman testing whether it's safe to move closer. Here's a pattern I've noticed through thousands of conversations with women. If a woman asks these two questions and doesn't feel encouraged by the answers, she very rarely asks again. She accepts the message. She hears you saying, without words, I'm not that open, or I'm not that alive. And she protects herself. She moves on. She stops putting herself out there with you. This is why it's so important to understand what's actually being asked and to answer with genuine presence and honesty. I want to tell you about something that happens in the female nervous system when she asks these questions and gets a good response. Research on mirror neurons and emotional attunement shows that when a woman asks a vulnerability question and a man responds with openness and presence, her nervous system literally calms down. She feels safer, her body relaxes, she starts to oxytocin, the bonding hormone, she starts to see a future with you. This isn't mystical or magical, it's biology, it's neuroscience, and it's real. When a woman asks, do you spend a lot of time alone? And you say something like, I do value my solitude, but I'm also very much looking for genuine connection right now, her brain registers safety and openness. When she asks, what are you looking for? And you say something like, I'm looking for depth and authenticity, someone who wants to really live rather than just exist. She feels that you're the kind of man who is worth the risk. Now, I want to be really honest with you about something. If you're not feeling open and available, you can't fake it. Women are incredibly intuitive. They can feel whether you're genuinely open or whether you're just saying the words they want to hear. So if you're answering these questions, but you're still emotionally closed off, if you're still protecting yourself, she'll feel that and she'll retreat. This is why the real work isn't about learning the perfect words to say. It's about actually opening yourself to the possibility of connection. It's about examining why you might be closed off and working on that. If you've been hurt in the past, if you've lost someone you loved, if you've been rejected or disappointed, it makes complete sense that you would be guarded. That's a healthy protective mechanism. But at a certain point, protecting yourself from pain also means cutting yourself off from joy and connection. And most mature women understand this. They're not asking you to be reckless with your heart. They're asking you to be brave enough to be open. They're asking you to show that you're capable of letting someone matter to you again. I want to give you some practical exercises to help you develop this openness and clarity, because understanding these concepts intellectually is only half the work. You actually need to embody them. First exercise, write down your answer to, do you spend a lot of time alone? But don't just write the surface answer. Write what you really feel. Are you lonely? Are you content in your solitude? Are you open to sharing your life? Are you scared of intimacy? Get really honest. Then write down a response that answers the question honestly, while also conveying openness and availability. Practice saying it out loud. Listen to your own tone. Does it sound genuine? Does it sound open? If not, adjust it. The goal is to say something true about yourself that also invites connection. Second exercise, answer, what are you looking for, with real intention. Don't write what you think you should say. Write what you actually want in this next phase of your life. What brings you alive? What matters to you? What would make this chapter of your life feel meaningful? Once you've written that down, craft a response that conveys direction and intention without sounding rehearsed or fake. This should come from a real place in you. Third exercise, vulnerability practice. Find a trusted friend and actually tell them your answers to these questions. Say them out loud. Pay attention to how it feels. Are you getting emotional? Are you defending yourself? Are you being truly honest? This isn't about being perfect. It's about knowing what real openness feels like in your body so you can access it when it matters. Fourth exercise, practice presence. The most important part of these questions isn't the answer. It's the presence you bring to them. When a woman asks you something, actually listen. Look at her. Feel what's happening between you. Respond from that place of genuine connection rather than from your head. This is called emotional attunement, and it's something you can develop through practice. Next time you're in a conversation with someone you care about, practice giving them your full attention. Put your phone away. Make eye contact. Listen not just to the words, but to what's underneath them. This will translate to how you show up in dating and relationships. What makes this especially important for mature men is that women see older men differently than they see younger ones. They expect more depth, more presence, more clarity. A younger man can be confused, uncertain, or inconsistent and still be seen as figuring out his life. But a man over 50 is judged by a different standard, whether that's fair or not. Women unconsciously assume that by this point in his life, he has lived through enough experiences to know who he is and what he wants. That's why their interest shows up through these emotional signals rather than obvious gestures. Women in their 40s, 50s, and beyond have also typically lived through enough to know what they want. They're not looking for a project or a fixer-upper. They're looking for a partner who is already somewhat together, who knows himself, who has done his own work. So when a woman asks questions that touch your openness or your direction, she's not just trying to get information. She's trying to feel your emotional landscape. She's trying to know if approaching you will end in rejection or connection. She's trying to assess whether you're worth the risk of her own vulnerability. Here's the difficult truth that no one wants to say out loud. A lot of men over 50 have given up on connection. They've been hurt, they've been disappointed, they've lost their faith that there's someone out there who could really understand them. So they close off, they become cynical, they tell themselves that they're better off alone, that relationships are too complicated, that they're too old to start something new. And that energy, that closed off quality, is exactly what women sense when they're considering opening up to you. But here's the beautiful flip side. If you're open, if you're alive, if you've done the work to deal with your wounds rather than letting them run your life, if you're intentional about who you want to be and what you want your life to look like, that is magnetic to women. That is attractive in the deepest sense. Because it's rare, because it takes courage, because it means you haven't given up on life or on love. Now, if you're watching this and you're thinking, Olivia, I really resonated with this, I feel like I need to do more of this kind of work, I want to invite you to like this video and subscribe to the channel. This content is designed specifically for men like you who want to understand female psychology better, who want to show up more authentically in relationships, who want to actually connect instead of just going through the motions. Your subscription helps me continue creating this content, and it signals to the YouTube algorithm that this stuff matters. Plus, I'm putting out new videos regularly with deep dives into female behavior, relationship psychology, and practical strategies for building the kind of connections you actually want. Let me give you one more framework to help you see this clearly. These two questions are deeply connected to female desire, and here's why women do not test men randomly. They test based on emotional readiness. When she asks, "Do you spend a lot of time alone?" she's measuring your openness. When she asks, "What are you looking for these days?" she's measuring your direction and your aliveness. The logic is simple, and it's backed by psychology research. A man who is open and moving with purpose creates emotional pull. He becomes someone worth leaning into. Women don't need perfection. They need clarity. Clarity gives safety, and safety awakens desire. This is why these two questions appear again and again across different women, different ages, different cultural backgrounds. Even if the woman doesn't consciously understand why she's asking them, even if she's never heard of female psychology or read any relationship books, these questions emerge because they come from a deeper feminine intelligence. They emerge from her nervous system, from her intuition, from her evolutionary design to choose partners wisely. I want to tell you about something that changed my understanding of this completely. I was interviewing a woman named Patricia, who was 63 and had been single for 15 years. She told me about a man she had been interested in, and she described asking him both of these questions. She told me, when he answered those questions with real presence, when he talked about building a meaningful life and being open to connection, something shifted in me. My whole body relaxed. I stopped questioning whether it was a good idea and started imagining what it would actually be like to be close to him. That's the power of these questions and of answering them with genuine openness. But she also told me what happened when other men didn't meet her with that presence. She said, if a man answers those questions like he's not really present, like he's just saying what he thinks I want to hear, I feel it immediately. My nervous system tenses up. I start making excuses to leave the conversation. I can't make myself be interested if there's no real presence there. This taught me something crucial. It's not just about the words, it's about the energy behind them. So here's what I want you to really take away from this video. A woman who wants intimacy with an older man, not just friendly conversation, but real emotional and physical closeness. She tests the way she is. She tests that connection with two specific questions. These questions are not about your plans or your resume. They are about your energy. When you notice them, when you recognize what's really being asked, you enter the moment with genuine presence. When you fail to notice them, when you answer on autopilot or give surface level answers, the moment disappears. And here's the part that I think is the most important. Women rarely offer the same emotional invitation twice. When they open a door, when they put themselves out there even subtly, it's usually just once. If you miss it, if you don't recognize it and respond to it with your own opening, she closes that door. And opening it again would feel too vulnerable, too risky. She's already been brave once. She's not going to do it again if she didn't feel received. If you remember just one thing from this entire video, let it be this. A woman does not test your words. She tests your presence and your awareness. She tests whether you can recognize genuine interest and whether you can meet it with presence rather than defensiveness or dismissal. If you can recognize the questions she uses to signal desire, if you can understand that those seemingly innocent questions are actually invitations to connection, you will never again wonder whether a woman is interested in you. You'll start to see these moments clearly. You'll understand what's being asked beneath the surface level of the conversation. This is not about being manipulative or calculating. It's about being awake. It's about being conscious enough to recognize what's actually happening in the space between you and another person. And when you recognize it, when you meet her invitation with genuine presence and openness, everything changes. Let me ask you this, and I want you to answer honestly. Are you open? Are you available? Do you have space in your life and your heart for connection? Are you alive in your life, or are you just going through the motions? These aren't rhetorical questions. These are the actual questions that women are asking when they ask you about spending time alone and what you're looking for. So get honest with yourself about the answers, because you can't fake that level of realness. Your nervous system will communicate what your words don't say. And here's something I want to say to you directly, person to person. You deserve connection. You deserve to find someone who sees you and wants to be close to you. You deserve to feel alive and desired and chosen. But that only happens when you're actually open to it, when you're willing to be vulnerable, when you're willing to let someone matter to you again. The questions that women ask aren't tricks. They're invitations. And the gift of understanding them is that you finally know how to say yes to those invitations with your whole self. If you found value in this video, I'm asking you to do me a favor and comment the phrase, "I see the signs" below. This shows me that you understood the message and are ready to use these insights in your actual life. Your comments help this content reach more men who need it, and they help me understand what resonates with you. Plus, I read every single comment and I often respond. So let's keep this conversation going. Tell me in the comments, have you ever been asked these questions and not realized what was really happening? Or have you asked a woman this and later realized she was testing you? I want to hear your stories. Before you go, please like this video if it resonated with you. Subscribe to the channel if you're serious about understanding female psychology and improving your relationships. And feel free to share this with a man in your life who might benefit from finally understanding what women are actually asking when they seem to be asking something simple. Thank you for watching Psychology Secrets with Olivia. I'll see you in the next video.